Today's verse of the day, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 through 18. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. You might have had the worst week last week, or maybe even the worst month last month. But each and every day is a new day, and the day that you can show up and have a better day than that last week or month, let alone. Simply by showing up and staying the course and doing the things that you need to do in order to prevail. Having faith and confidence in the things you're doing will be your resolve in what you're pursuing to see the result. It's not going to be easy. No one said it would. You still have to show up each and every day, even on those days where the results you want are not coming through. Even on the days where you're getting beat up and the market's doing you all kinds of ways and you're not seeing the results in the market that you want to see. You still have to show up each and every day and show up with the same energy, the same effort, and the same ability in order for you to see the result. With that being said, let's get to the charts. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Here we have the Monday chart loaded on the QQQ chart, 5-minute time frame. And man, what a day we had on Monday. Starting out the day, we opened at our 710 level, going into our all-time high range of 713.4, where we then saw a failure to get above that 713.4 level, going back down closer to 710. But we ended up holding above 710 for a majority of the day. And we really honestly were range bound between the orb high and the orb low of the session for a while, until we later in the day broke out above that level. And then later in the day, once again, we fell back below that level and came back down a little bit, closing out the day right around the orb high. But the trade that I took was around this 9:30 session, where we saw a sharp failure come into the market. And from here I looked to take a position. Seeing this failure come in, I thought we were going to continue lower, and so I got a position on this opening candle here. As we retested the orb low, using that candle high as a stop loss, I was able to catch the move to the downside, but then we wicked right back up. And so I had initial size, took profit, added a little bit more size once we retested this level again. We broke back above, and then we went back into the highs of the day, reclaiming the orb high and breaking above that orb high. So I did get trailed out of this position after claiming profits, which then led me to being pretty much break even on the day. We didn't really take any more trades after that. I could have taken trades to the upside, but I really just was not that confident in the upside movement due to the volume. As you guys see here at the bottom, we just weren't showing a lot of conviction to move higher. And so I wasn't confident that we were gonna go higher until we did. And then we had that failure come in that I mentioned later in the day. And we were just kind of range bound between that failure level of 712, bouncing off that level, going back up to about 714.5. So that was our day on Monday. Now let's move on to Tuesday and talk about what trades we took on Tuesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Tuesday chart loaded back on the QQQ chart, 5-minute time frame. And in my opinion, I think Tuesday was probably our best price action day for the week. And that's just my personal opinion, due to the fact that we had a lot of flow to the downside come in, which is something I've been looking for to happen, simply due to the fact that I think that we've just been overextended and the market was in need for some form of a pullback so that we could continue higher. So going into the Tuesday session, we were falling below our previous level that we couldn't get below, which was that 710 level. And I decided to take puts off the bat, just simply due to the fact that we retested this level and fell below this level. And in the pre-market, we were holding below this level as well. So my idea was, if we were able to continue to hold below this level going into the opening session, I would look to take puts and target lows going back down to closer to 700. We caught the move here, took profits going into the EMA just to, secure gains for the week. And Then we looked to take re-entries here and there around this EMA level, actually a few times, because we were holding it there for a minute. Then we retested it again later in the day around 9:20, where we caught our big move that actually mattered, which was the second trade that I took. We caught the move going into this retest at the same range that we fell below before at 8:50. So our initial failure level, when we hit that level, we then retested that level once again at 9:20, where we then saw the aggressive sell-off below the orb low, going all the way down to bottoming out below 700, going all the way down to about 696.6, where we then saw a strong reversal and bounced back up, going back up to $706.88. So we caught majority of this move. We finished out our trade right around this $703 level. That's where I trailed out of most of my position. And at that point, I was up pretty decently on the day, so I was like, you know what, I'm good. I don't really need to catch the rest of this move. I do feel like it's gonna go lower, which it did. As you guys see my green box here, this is the box that I thought would hold well for the position to pivot back to the upside for demand buyers to come back in. It did do that after faking out below the level. It reclaimed it right after and went higher. The SPY level actually held way better than the Qs. But nonetheless, it did hold, and we did see a reversal going back up higher. So that was a trade that we took on Tuesday. Like I said, I think the price action that day was pretty clean and, you know, just very well rounded from both upside and downside, because you could have caught the rejection level up here at the highs of the orb, 710, or you could have caught the reversal off this demand level off down here, where then it formed the V-shape move back to the upside. So, you know, you could have had opportunity either way, which is why I was saying that I think that day in particular was the best day for price action, rather than this choppy upside movement that we've been seeing for the last few weeks. I was very happy with that. So with that being said, let's move on to Wednesday and talk about what trades we took on Wednesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Wednesday chart loaded back on the QQQs, 5-minute time frame. As you guys see here, forming our orb level initially, we were in a very manipulative price action mode, simply due to the fact that we were showing failure, but just continuously wicking. And so initially I had a bearish mindset and thinking that we would see a reversal going back down lower, but as we started to hold more and more, I was like, nah, we're probably just gonna hold and rip. And that's sure enough what ended up happening, but it just took a very long time. Like, as you guys see here, from 8:30 all the way to about 10 o'clock, an hour, 20 minutes, we didn't really see anything until after 10 o'clock. And so by then, you know, I wasn't too interested in trading after that time. I was just kind of trying to trade that first hour. I had a lot of things I had to do that day. And so initially we took puts, got stopped out of puts. So then I was looking for calls. And as we were holding this EMA, I looked to take a position here on the EMA right around 940, where I then ended up taking a position right at the EMA, where I was able to catch that bounce going into the breakout above the orb high. But I took profits right before we broke above orb high, because I was trailed out of this position after retesting that EMA once more. Could have taken a re-entry, but I was like, it's all good. I'm not really too pressed about it. So I did not take a re-entry on this, but I did catch a good move nonetheless off that EMA reclaim and reversal back to the upside. And then from there, we just really ran, holding those EMAs all day long, all the way up to, we reached as high as 717, I believe, 716.65. We then saw some reversals come in and some rejections. We were closing out the day closer to about 714.4. So overall, a very uptrending day, a V-shape, you know, reversal previous day going into an uptrending day the next day. It wasn't too surprising, but like I said, that initial start to the day looked bearish, but like I said, it was very, very manipulative, because looks can be deceiving. So you guys always want to be mindful of the price action and what it's showing you on the charts, how the candles are moving, how it's responding to, you know, continuation. Is it continuing downward, or is it reversing and starting to look to go higher? That's what we started to see, you know, as the candles got smaller and smaller, They looked like they were going lower, but we ended up not going lower. We popped out of that move, and just whatever short positions were being had, all got stopped out simply due to this one candle. So always be mindful of that. Always be mindful that the market is manipulative, and it will do things to try to manipulate you out your position. And it will just make you do things, make you think that it might go in a certain way when in reality it's really building up to go in the opposite direction. So always be mindful of that. But with that being said, let's move on to Thursday and talk about what trades we took on Thursday. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys want to learn more about how to day trade, I have a free day trading course on my website at www.continuebelief.com. There you'll get all the information and resources needed to help you guys learn more on your journey to day trading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get back to it. All right, you guys, here we have the Thursday chart loaded up on the 5-minute time frame for QQQ. And as you guys see, what a day. So holding above that 714 level, we were able to break out, go back into new all-time highs, reaching as high as 722, where we then start to see reversal come in. And this is around the time that I look to take positions in the market, because the first 2 hours of the session, I wasn't on my phone looking for trades. I was very busy that day. But we were looking to take puts after failing below this EMA. However, Thursdays being Thursdays, we were in a very manipulative range. We really just couldn't catch it the way I intended, because as you guys see, we were doing the same thing as Wednesday, where we were seeing a lot of wicks come in and, you know, just fake out moves upward, to the point where we just were like, you know what, we were bouncing back and forth with our idea, because we were reclaiming the EMAs, but then we were holding below it. Reclaiming the EMA, then we were holding above it. Then I was trying to use multiple time frames to confirm my position and my idea, but it wasn't really working out the way I intended it. So I just ended up, I was able to capture some moves both ways, but it wasn't enough to be profitable. So I did lose overall, but we did capture the move to the downside after seeing this failure here. I was able to get this position. Actually, no. Yeah, that was the move. So we caught this candle here. We then were able to capture the move down here, but then we got trailed out of the position after wicking down lower and reversing back higher. I wanted to see it flip on the day and do like a V-shaped thing like it did Tuesday to go back down the lows and retest the 714, but we never got to see that happen. And so we ended up holding above that 714 and that 718 level all day long, closing out the day around 719.74. So yeah, Thursday, you know, wasn't really my best day, probably the worst day of the week. But all in all, just be mindful of that manipulation and that choppy price action. You want to see a convicting move to the downside. This candle gave me the confirmation that I was looking for. These candles didn't. These were all manipulation candles. But this candle was the confirmation move, and then this retest was a good move as well. So had I had a wider stop loss and was willing to risk more on the day, then I could have possibly captured even more on this position and not had to keep getting into positions and holding, you know, and that essentially adding up my losses on the losing side. Had I just had one position, I was able to use conviction and have better risk. Like, my entry was right here. So had I risked up here, that would have been a better position. But I think I entered on the low end of this candle. So had I got in closer to the top of this candle and used that candle high up here as a stop loss, that would have been a great way to approach it. But I didn't do that. So I know what to do going forward, but that's just what I did that particular day. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to Friday. Talk about what trades we took on Friday, and then go over the predictions for next week. All right, ladies and gents, we're back. QQQ 5-minute time frame on Friday. As you guys see, we were holding a range between the orbs. Initially, we had a gap down in this session going back below that 714 level. So I had highlighted that level as a previous day low. Also, the orb level that we formed, I believe the day before, which was the orb low. And there was also the pre-market high. So we had a very, very highly convicted level at that 714 level. So if we got there, I was looking to take puts. Unfortunately, I did not take puts because it did reach there, but I was not trading at this time. I was done trading by the day, but we do see a very strong reversal come in later in the day off of that level. So very important level to highlight going forward for those of you who day trade. But initially, as I mentioned, we were holding between the orb low and the orb high. We had a failure below, a fake out failure below the orb low, where we then had a strong reversal going back up. So once I saw that, I decided that if the level continues to hold, if we never fail the orb low, I will look to take calls, because I feel that it will break out and go higher if we cannot get below that orb low. We ended up not getting below the orb low. We broke out and went higher. I took a position off of this breakout level and used the failure below honestly used the candle low failure as a stop loss, because I felt if this level were to go, it would just go. And that's what happened. We were able to capture this move to the upside. We took profits going into new highs for the day. And then we got trailed out of position because we just moved our stop loss below the candle low of each candle. So got trailed out of this position and we ended up getting stopped out, but we did capture this entire move to the upside. From there, we kind of held between these two levels. We were failing, then holding, then failing, then holding, doing a lot of manipulation. And then we ended up retesting this level once more. Then we saw some failure kick in again, but we did not fail low enough to go to lower lows. We ended up reversing once more, pushing higher, and then retesting that 714 level where we then saw failure. So all in all, a good day. You know, later in the day was way better price action in my opinion. But this is interesting the way it's setting up. I'm looking forward to see how we open going into tomorrow, which is what I'm going to talk about next. So let's talk about what we can expect to see happen going into this next week of May. All right, ladies and gents, here we have the 4-hour chart loaded on the SPY, ticker symbol SPY. Overall, this week was very good in my opinion. We had a lot of price action, movement, upward movement to new all-time highs. As you guys see, we reached all the way up to about 749.5. We retested 731.8, where we then held and went higher going into that new all-time high. But shortly after our test of new all-time highs, we failed that level going into the next day, Friday, where we then saw failure going back down to our 738 and 743 levels, where we held between those two levels that day, closing out the week at 739. What can we expect to watch going into this next week of May? The levels that I think we need to watch are going to be between 732, 731, however you want to put it, 736, 745 to 44. Those will be our three levels to watch going into this next week of May. If we get a failure below 736, we can push back to 731 to 732. If we hold that 732, we can bounce back up. But if we fail 732, we can see a push down closer to about 725 to 728, which is our gap fill zone that we have not reached yet. And if we fail that level, we can push back down lower going to 716. However, if we hold above 736, we're able to get a retest above 740, excuse me. Hold above 740, we can push it to 744. If we get a break above 744, we can push to that all-time high level of 749.5. If we break above that, we can see a push into new all-time highs. And I think the psychological level that we would retest or test to see if we can break would probably be 752. That'd be my guess. Around 752, maybe 753 would be that next level to test and see if we can break above or reject. So those would be my levels to watch. We're starting to see, structure, demand levels and resistance levels form. So just be mindful of the trades you're taking and be mindful of the zones you're trading. And what are you trading in the demand zone, or are you trading in the resistance zone? You want to be mindful of that as well. Comment below your thoughts. Let me know if you guys are trading the SPY. Are you guys looking to trade upside moves, or are you guys looking to trade downside moves? There's been a lot of different memes and stuff I've been seeing going around of the SPY's price action and the way it's been moving. like we'll see a certain technical analysis setup in the market, and so you think to take sell positions, but then it just rips and rallies and goes up. So it's pretty funny to see those videos, because that's the reality of the market we're in. We're in a very rip and rally kind of mode with SPY. So just be mindful of that. If you see a dip into a demand level, I would say probably look to take calls rather than puts. And if you're in a resistance level, I would be very cautious until we see strong failure kick in, like we've been starting to slowly see. I wouldn't be overly confident in taking puts. Take puts if you see something you like, but take it with lighter size than you would take a call position. A call position is more likely to go up in this current market than a put position. That's just the reality of what we're in. So just be mindful of that going into this next week. And yeah, other than that, you guys, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you all for tuning in once again. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn the notification bell for more content. It's your boy CB checking with you all. Make sure to tune in tomorrow to our Rich Off Gains podcast. That'll be releasing at 6:30 p.m. I'll see you guys next time. God bless.